Hello and welcome to Levels Plus Whenever, episode 167, and revisiting the bottom games of all time for me today. It's been a long time coming. I like to try to update those lists about once every 2 years, really rethink them. I really edited it down. I cut out like 54 minutes. I don't even know how I had 54 minutes of just talking about those games, but somehow I did, but it wasn't important, really. So you're getting a pretty succinct video in comparison to what the actual recording was. I don't have any pickups today, so we're going to get right into it. So back in 2024, almost 2 years ago by the time you'll see this, I recorded the first attempt to figure out what my least favorite games are. And you can see the results of that first list in front of you. And it's pretty intensive. There's a lot of stuff on there that I don't really like. And eventually we narrowed it down to these 20 as the worst games I've ever played. Well, it's been 2 years. I've played some other games since then, so I thought it was a good time to return to the topic and reevaluate this list. So, what I've done is I went and reorganize the list. So you can see there's a middle divider. The top 50 are the games that ended up in the top 50, I suppose bottom 50 in this case, last time. And without looking at that video and going off of my groovy ratings and just what I generally remember as games I don't like, and adding in a couple new ones that I've experienced since recording that video, I've pulled in 50 more games that I don't think are very good. I'm not going to necessarily go back and forth between what I recorded in 2024 to 2026. I feel like organically I'm moved past that point, and now this is where I feel. So I'm going to merge these two sets of 50 into a new list, and we're going to reorganize it to determine what I think the worst games for me personally are. All right, everything's been merged together by publisher, more or less. So let's get this down to a bottom 50 and then a bottom 20. The bottom 20 is going to probably not be that drastically different, but I'm not going to go back and reference what I did before. So it will be interesting to see what I decide is ultimately the worst of the worst this go around. I think you can mostly see all the games that are on this list. So I'm not going to get super into like reading all 100 of them. But I will talk about them as we touch on them as we go. Okay, well, I knocked out 26. A little over half. Let's quickly just knock out some other ones that I don't think are going to earn my full vitriol. Bard's Tale. Mad Dog McCree. I think I'm going to leave. John Elway's quarterback. I think NFL is going to be the bad football game. Tapper. Arc is disgusting, but I get off the list. Two Crude Dudes can leave. I think it's at least somewhat competent. I can't really remove any of these LJN Acclaim games. They're all just bad. Underground 2 gets a pass. Infamous gets a pass. Decap Attack gets a pass. I suppose Mad World can get a pass. Stack Columns, even though it's so dull, can get a pass. Ninja Turtles can get a pass. Return of the Invaders can get a pass. It's just wild. Like, at this stage, I'm getting rid of Trojan. And that was at one point, like, bottom 10 for me. What a world I live in. Skyward Sword. I think I'm going to give a pass. Let me quickly reconfigure this to figure out how many more I got to cut. Sonic Spinball. You get a pass. China Warrior. You get a pass. Trying to look at these and see what gives the slightest semblance of any sort of happiness. That's where I'm currently at. What game actually has the hint of something okay? Kirby's Funhouse. Okay. I can't quite remove Roger Rabbit. I almost did, but I can't. I at least got characters out of Attitude. God. Just Dance is bad, but you know, these are all worse. Godzilla, I think, is actually better than some of these. Shadow Dragon at least has the Famicom framework working for it, even if it's a terrible remake. MLB might be one of the worst baseball games I've played, but at least it's better than some of the other games on this list. Psychosis is so boring that I think it's going to get a pass because it's so... I can't really remember it. One more, and then I can escape this purgatory I've put myself in. At least Karate Kid's got the fly catching mini game. Okay, we're at 50. Alright. Without ranking these are the 50 games that I find the worst that I played. And now it's time to rank them. We're going to start at the top this time instead of at the bottom, because I generally know at least what the top 10 probably are. I still think Virtua Fighter 2 is the worst game I've played, because it just takes something that's so good and just absolutely demolishes it. What a horrid game that is. Home Alone 2 remains the worst licensed game I've ever experienced. I know there's ones out there that are built worse than that game is, but I have yet to play it, and I am not looking to find it out. It's so bad. Absolutely atrocious. Pit Fighter, I'm going to put in that coveted third spot. I hate that game so much. I really do. It's really, really, really poor. Haunted Castle, number 4. What a miserable game that is. It's one of those games that hates you for existing, because it was made by people who apparently just hate humanity. Resident Evil 6. I still just think this is one of the worst games I've ever played. Such a letdown in comparison to just about everything else. Zelda 2. As I was saying, this game just went on its own little journey and lost everything that I thought Zelda was about. Mario Sunshine, just what a miserable follow-up for me in terms of Mario 64 being such an iconic classic game for me. Fire Emblem Engage Fail Xenologue. I actually think I'm going to put this here because I think I had it pretty close to 4th place. I am truly disappointed, appalled, and disgusted by this DLC package. I sold my entire Engage Enterprise off because of that DLC. So I think it deserves to be up in the top 4 of the worst things I've ever played. Bad Street Brawler should probably be in the bottom 10. It's such a terrible trash fire of a video game. It's really bad. Bomboozle's probably deserving to be up here too. Everything about this game is just gross. Everything. Control, visuals, music. There's nothing good about it. Very, very poor game. Donkey Kong Jr. Math, I think needs to be in the bottom 10, which means that Bomboozle is getting at least bumped out, but I think this is probably deserving to be here because it serves so little purpose. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption can hang out near the bottom 10. It was around there last time. I want to say it actually made the bottom 10. But the more I think about Bad Street Brawler, because I've watched somebody else play it in the last year, it needs to be there. Prince of Persia Warrior Within. I could think of few games that lost any semblance of what made the last game good more than that one. Doomsday Warrior is such a trash fighting game. It is not as bad as these two, but it's certainly up there among the worst. Uncanny X-Men. I forgot about this. This should probably be here. This is a really bad game. That just not only doesn't capitalize on the license very well, but is visually ugly and almost impossible to parse what you're supposed to do. Very, very, very disappointing game. The NES version of Mule can go here. I think that Mindscape lost... I'm saying lost a lot today. Abandoned what Ozark Softscape put into Mule that made it such a beautifully crafted video game and said, you know, fuck that. Let's just shit this out. And they did. And it's bad. Super Thunder Blade should probably be here. This is just an absolutely galling port. Rumble Lumber can go next. Just because I don't understand what the hell that they were trying to do. I really don't. So let's see. I think Alex Kidd is there. I think Lost Levels is going to be right behind it, but I think these two just really encapsulate how not to design a platformer. One, don't make it luck-based. Two, don't hate your player. All right, we got a bottom 20 that looks pretty good. Metal Soldier Isaac, I think, will be 21. It's okay if you stay in mech form. The moment you don't, it sucks. Dead Space 3, I think we'll follow that up. I think a miserable sequel. Aliens, I think, needs to be in the bottom 25. That flight simulator is so bad. Mega Man and Bass needs to be in the bottom 25. That That game was designed for younger players who still had a Super Nintendo. And apparently, whoever they thought they had on staff to design a game for younger players, still with their Super Nintendo, while their older siblings got the new systems, apparently they all hated children. I don't know how else to describe it. Last but not least, I think Oblivion needs to be in the bottom 25. And I think it was in the bottom 20 before, so it's gotten a little better. I still think Avenger's terrible and should be here. Earthworm Jim. I just despise everything about this game, including its creator. Fuck Doug. Just fuck him. Barb vs. the World. Horrid game. Absolutely horrid. Akari Warriors 2, Victory Road. That's just a miserable experience on the NES. Clack and Pop, I think, will be number 30. And now we're starting to get into things that aren't as bad. Like, Balls is really bad. Like, Balls is a really bad game. In fact, I think I'm going to put it there. Like, I'm going to put it above Oblivion. Oblivion continues to get better on this list. Balls is really bad. It's really bad. I'm gonna slide her from Jim up too. I think it deserves to be above Oblivion. Oblivion, you're doing great. You get a remaster, in my opinion, improves on you. I'm not even gonna play it. Gakido, I think, needs to go here. Since it's basically broken. You can't actually play it. Street Fighter can go there. Dr. Mario can follow that. JJ and Jeff probably should be higher. It's probably like here. Yep, Oblivion again. It's just bad. It's really bad. Primal Rage should probably be here too. Oblivion's gonna get out of the bottom 30 at this rate. Primal Rage is just not a fun fighting game. I'm gonna put Kirby here for spite, because that's what it seems to be full of. I don't know why. It just really feels like it's full of spite. Golden Axe 3. Mad Dog McCree. And then I would probably say Knuckleheads would be here. Back to the Future 2 and 3, though. That's probably up here, too. That should probably be, like, above Metal Soldier Isaac, because at least, you know, when you are the mech, it's kind of fun. You start in the mech, you have to find the kind of okay levels. This hellhole. I would put Fez here because I just have really strong feelings about it. Ghostbusters here. Echo Jr. here. Ninja Spirit probably here. Roger Rabbit. NFL should probably be around here. It's really bad. No, I think we're getting pretty close to having this ironed out. Because I think at its core, at least King of Fighters 13 is a good game that has just got a bunch of things I don't like about it. I think the rest of these are well placed. Oblivion did escape the bottom 30. So for funsies, let's see where I ultimately landed here. So I swapped Pit Fighter and Home Alone. X-Men fell below Haunted Castle. JJ and Jeff was actually in the bottom 10. So it's now here. So it fell quite a bit. Probably should be higher, but, you know, different opinion. RE6 went up. Zelda went down. Mario Sunshine shot up quite a bit. It wasn't even in the bottom 20 last time. It is now. Bad Street Brawler is about where it was. Doomsday Warrior and Street Fighter fell a bit. Doomsday Warrior is now here. Street Fighter is now down here. Warrior Within is exactly the same place. Mule's just a tiny bit lower. Bomboozle's higher. Earthworm Jim is lower. But you know what? In hindsight, I do think it deserves to be higher. I despise so much about this that I do think it deserves to be higher. I'm gonna even put it above Corruption. Alex Kidd, Donkey Kong Jr. Math, and Super Thunderblade. So Donkey Kong Jr. Math got a bump, a big bump to be in the bottom. But otherwise, the bottom didn't change a ton. Doomsday Warrior. Nope, that wasn't quite up there. JJ and Jeff and Corruption are the ones that fell. But I feel like Corruption, now that I played Prime 4 Beyond, maybe I'm just a little bit kinder to it. I don't know. But most of it's still about the same. JJ and Jeff probably should be at least 21. In hindsight. Because it's the Lost Levels at very least still plays like a Mario game. JJ and Jeff feels like trash. There you go, Alex Kidd. Don't say I've never done anything for you. Happy February. Recorded all of that in January. And I thought what would be a good idea is coming back to this after about a month of just kind of continued rumination and see if there was things that I felt were just placed too low. And there's a couple that I felt when I was glancing at the edit that are a little too low on this list. JJ and Jeff is a despicable game on so many fronts. Doomsday Warrior is really, really bad. Did not enjoy playing that at all. So I'm going to do a little bit of revising. The top 10 is pretty much what I feel. I think that the Genesis port of Virtua Fighter 2 just so misses the point of what Virtua Fighter 2 is supposed to be. Home Alone 2 is the worst licensed game I've ever played and is just abysmal on every front. The arcade Pit Fighter I don't like. Now I've learned that the home ports are even worse. I'm not going to play them, but Pit Fighter just deserves to be in the top 3 for me. Fire Emblem Engages fell. Xenologue is the worst DLC ever. It's just really awful. Haunted Castle is by far the worst Castlevania, a game that just really didn't get the assignment of what that series was about. Granted, there wasn't a whole lot to pull from, but it was certainly one of those cases where a game decided to explore something and absolutely miss the mark on just about everything. Donkey Kong Jr. Math, a really poor effort to incorporate education into video games. The Uncanny X-Men, the second worst licensed game of all time, and an absolute trash fire of cheapness and what the hell am I doing style gameplay. And then the 3 sequels that I think are some of the most disappointing of any video game. RE6, Zelda 2, Super Mario Sunshine. So I think the top 10 is pretty locked, but I do think that I need to make some considerations for the 10 that follow. I think JJ and Jeff needs to be more like here, because this game really is, as I said earlier, despicable. It's a mean-spirited game that is weirdly infatuated with crap. And along with that, it just doesn't play very well. And it's not pleasant to look at. And it sounds terrible. So it deserves to be higher. I don't think it's as bad as Bad Street Brawler on the NES. I don't think it's as bad as Bomboozle. But it's definitely there. Um, I also think that Doomsday Warrior needs to be in the top 15. This is a fighting game that, if it wasn't for Virtua Fighter 2 and to a lesser extent Pit Fighter, would be one of the worst fighting games I've ever played. And it still is. It's number 3 on that list. It's just everything that I love about fighting games is absent in Doomsday Warrior. It's really bad. I'm gonna put Rumbo Lumber, which is what Log Challenge is, as a reminder, a little higher because that game was so inexplicable. I still don't fully understand it. And the mechanics just don't really come together in a way that it makes any ounce of sense. My disdain for Prince of Persia Warrior Within should probably have it be higher. Mule, I think I like less on the NES because of how much they botched that port. And then from there, I feel like this is pretty much on point. I really detest Earthworm Jim. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption is almost up in this tier of these 3 games, except that I hate it less. Super Thunderblade is an absolutely awful, terrible, miserable port sequel to the arcade game. So, am I going to worry too much about the rest of the list? Probably not. I really just wanted to come back in and just kind of feel out this top 20 a little bit more, and I do think that that's pretty close. I do want to make a few little changes in the bottom 30. Not major, just a couple. I think KOF 13 should be higher at this stage, because it's a game that just missed the mark for me really badly. And I don't think it being at number 50 is really appropriate for it in hindsight. I think that everything that game does wrong should have it be a little bit higher on the list. It's probably the best playing fighting game on this list. But there's just a lot about it I don't like. I think Alex Kidd is where it should be. If it wasn't for the rock, paper, scissors boss fights, it probably would be lower on this list. Maybe not even be in the bottom 50, but they're there. Dead Space 3, I'm going to actually bump up a bit. I was thinking about that when I was watching Keita Nash and her husband play Dead Space Remake, about how bad this game is. And it's really bad. I don't think it's as bad as The Lost Levels, but I do think it's worse than these two. I think the GBA port of Mega Man and Bass should be higher, because that game already is bad, and then they made it worse by zooming the camera in. It's like a slap in the face after getting punched in the mouth. I think Balls is where it should be. I thought about bumping it up, but no. I think these 3 games are really bad. I really don't like Avenger. I think Kato should be higher because you can't actually play it on its original format. It should probably be in the bottom 10, honestly, given how I couldn't progress past the first part of the game, but at least had some visuals and they played well when it worked. These 2, I think, are where they should be. Clack and Pops may be a little high. I don't like that game, but I don't think it's worse than those. I think these are all terrible in their own ways. Just not a great feeling sports game, especially when you got Tecmo Bowl on the same system. Street Fighter just feels really clunky compared to every sequel that followed, practically. I've never liked the way Dr. Mario's format works for puzzling. And Kirby's Dream Land 2 suffers the same problem as Mega Man and Bass GBA. It's too zoomed in and there's too many cheap shots. Clack and Pop just feels awkward. But I think that there's some charm to it at the very least. Golden Axe 3 is just a very uninspired, dull game. Honestly, I think I'm going to slide that down to the bottom tier and move KOF 13 a little bit higher, because I really did not enjoy that. Knuckleheads, I think, should be a little higher too, because it is just so over the top difficult. And I think from there, I think Ninja Spirit should probably be higher too. I'm still a little mad at it. I may have said in the earlier video I was less mad at it, but I am still mad at it. I'm gonna dump Fez a little lower, because I do feel like these games are worse. I think Fez is actually good because it's still Persona 3. It's just they really messed up the story and how I interpreted the ending, and just isn't as good as the main game, and soured the main game for me. But I think Reload's gonna fix that, so I'm gonna lower it. I'm gonna put it down here. Mario 64 DS is just gonna hang barely on this list, because if they do a DS app for Nintendo Classics on NSO, and they release Super Mario 64 DS, and they can get the touchscreen to work on an analog stick, then every problem with that game will disappear. And I feel like that's really close to happening. I feel like the DS is gonna happen in the Switch 2 Lifeline. So I feel like this game's biggest problem, using the touchscreen to control analog, will go away. And it won't need to be on this list anymore. The rest of these I don't think could be redeemed by too much. And I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. I think we are good. I think we are officially at the new bottom 50 games that I don't like at all for 2026. And we'll come back to this again in about 2 years and see what new stuff has irritated me. I don't deliberately try to play bad games, but sometimes usually it's through like the mini consoles or like the egret or compilations that I discover games I don't like, more so than me buying something individually and discovering it that way. But there are some that I have done that for. There's just not a lot on this list. Thank you for joining me for this update. I will see you in the near future with another episode. Thanks again. Take care, friends.